Someone extremely powerful is thinking about you. You did not arrive at this message by chance, and that is not said for drama or emphasis, but because there is a quiet alignment happening right now that only reveals itself when you are still enough to notice it, and you are here because somewhere deep inside you felt a subtle pull, a pause, a sense that something unseen was turning its attention toward you, not loudly, not urgently, but with intention. And that intention comes from someone whose influence is far greater than you realize. Someone who does not move impulsively or emotionally, someone who observes first, measures silently, and acts only when the moment is exact. And what is important for you to understand is that this person did not suddenly begin thinking about you today. They have been aware of you for a while, watching from a distance where power feels invisible, noticing patterns in your life that even you may not have fully connected yet, noticing how you handle pressure, how you respond when things do not go your way, how you carry yourself when no one is applauding you, because real power is drawn to substance, not noise, and you carry something that cannot be faked, even if you yourself sometimes doubt it, and that is why your name has crossed their mind more than once, not in obsession, not in fantasy, but in calculation, in consideration, in quiet curiosity that slowly turned into focused attention. Because powerful people do not waste their thoughts on randomness, they think with purpose, and you became part of that purpose without trying to be. There have been moments recently where you felt an unexplained shift in your energy, moments where old distractions stopped holding the same weight, where conversations felt hollow, where certain ambitions quietly dissolved, and you may have thought you were losing motivation or direction, but in reality you were being repositioned internally, because before something significant aligns externally, there is always an internal clearing, a subtle detachment from what can no longer follow you forward. And this powerful person sensed that change before you consciously named it, sensed that you were entering a phase where you could see more, hold more, handle more, and that awareness made you visible to them in a way you were not before. You may wonder how someone so influential could notice you at all, especially if your life feels ordinary on the surface, but power recognizes resonance, not appearance, and there is something about the way you move through difficulty without becoming bitter. Something about how you continue even when recognition is absent, something about how you refuse to fully give up on yourself even in your lowest moments. That speaks a language they understand very well, because they have walked through isolation too. They have learned that true strength often develops quietly, away from applause, and when they think about you, they are not imagining who you could pretend to be, they are seeing who you already are beneath everything else. This connection does not come with fireworks or immediate contact, because real influence rarely announces itself. Instead it tests, it waits, it observes how you behave when you feel unseen, and right now you are in that observation window, a phase where every small choice matters more than you realize, where the way you respond to frustration, to silence, to delay, is being noticed energetically, even if no words have been exchanged yet. And this is why patience feels unusually important. Right now, why rushing feels wrong, why forcing outcomes feels exhausting, because something larger is aligning behind the scenes, and it requires you to stay grounded, not desperate, not performative, but steady in who you are. There may be times you feel an impulse to prove yourself, to explain your worth, to make sure you are not forgotten, but resist that urge. Because the kind of power thinking about you does not respond to chasing, it responds to consistency, integrity, and quiet confidence, and every time you choose to remain composed instead of reactive, every time you honor your values even when it costs you comfort, you strengthen the invisible bridge forming between your path and theirs. This does not necessarily mean romance, and it does not necessarily mean opportunity in the way you expect, because the mind wants to label and define, but influence works in layers, and sometimes the first connection is not a meeting, but an alignment of direction, where your life begins to open doors that once stayed closed, where obstacles move without explanation, where timing improves in ways you cannot logically account for. Because when powerful attention rests on you, it shifts the environment subtly, not dramatically, and you may already be noticing signs of that, small changes, unexpected clarity, a sense that you are being prepared rather than pushed. It is important that you do not shrink yourself now, do not downplay your thoughts, your ideas, your intuition, because this is a period where self-respect acts like a signal, and the more you honor your own depth, the clearer that signal becomes, and the more aligned this unseen connection grows, because power respects self-possession, not insecurity, and even if fear still exists within you, what matters is that you do not let it define your actions. There will be a moment, and it may come unexpectedly, where a conversation, an introduction, a decision, or an opportunity presents itself that feels strangely familiar, like something you have already been preparing for without knowing why, and when that moment arrives, you will understand that this period of waiting was not empty time, it was shaping time, and the thoughts being directed toward you were not passive, they were intentional, forming a path that required both sides to be ready. Until then, your role is not to guess, not to obsess, not to look for signs in every detail, but to remain aligned with your own truth, to move through your days with awareness, restraint, and quiet confidence, knowing that being thought about by someone powerful is not a reward, it is a responsibility, and you are being trusted, even now, to carry yourself in a way that matches what is coming, and if you can do that, without forcing, without fear, without abandoning yourself, then when the alignment completes, you will not need to ask why it happened, because you will recognize that you were already becoming the person who could receive it, and as this alignment continues to unfold, there is something deeper you need to understand, something that sits beneath curiosity and anticipation, because when someone extremely powerful holds you in their awareness, it is never accidental and it is never without consequence, and this does not mean pressure, it means precision, because power does not rush what it intends to keep, and right now you are in a phase where subtle refinement is happening inside you, even if on the surface your days look the same, because internally you are learning restraint, discernment, and self-trust in ways you were not capable of before, and this is essential, because the kind of influence thinking about you cannot connect with someone who still seeks validation from every direction. It connects with someone who has learned to sit with their own thoughts without collapsing, someone who can be alone without feeling erased, someone who does not confuse silence with rejection, and if you are honest with yourself, you have already been tested in these areas, through delays, through unanswered questions, through moments where you felt overlooked or underestimated, and each of those moments was not punishment, it was calibration, shaping the way you respond so that when real attention arrives, you do not mishandle it or lose yourself inside it. You may have noticed that you are becoming more selective, more aware of what drains you, more protective of your energy, and this is not you becoming cold, this is you becoming clear, because clarity is attractive to power, and confusion repels it, and this person thinking about you senses that shift, senses that you are no longer willing to settle for noise disguised as connection, or movement without meaning. And that is why their attention has not faded but intensified quietly, because they recognize readiness when they see it. It is important to understand that powerful people think differently, they do not think in impulses or fantasies, they think in outcomes, trajectories, and long-term resonance, and when you cross their mind, it is not because of a single moment or impression, it is because they see how your presence could align with their direction, how your nature complements rather than competes, how your steadiness balances their intensity, and that kind of recognition takes time to form, which is why nothing has been rushed, and why you may feel suspended between what was and what is coming, because this is the space where alignment locks into place. You might feel moments of doubt, moments where you question whether this is real or whether you are reading too much into subtle feelings, but doubt does not cancel alignment, it simply reveals where trust is still being built, and you are not expected to be fearless, you are expected to be honest with yourself, to notice when fear tries to make you shrink or rush, and to choose steadiness instead, because every time you do, You reinforce the signal that you are capable of meeting power without losing your center. There is also a reason why your life has been teaching you boundaries lately, why situations have forced you to say no, to step back, to stop over-explaining, because power does not connect well with people who abandon themselves to be liked, it connects with people who can stand in their truth without aggression or apology, and you are learning that now, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes imperfectly, but genuinely, and that genuineness is what is being noticed. Do not underestimate the importance of how you treat yourself in private during this time, how you speak to yourself when no one is watching, how you respond to setbacks internally, because power reads consistency, and the way you hold yourself alone often matters more than how you present yourself publicly, and the attention thinking about you is tuned to that level, not surface performance. There may be moments where you feel an urge to step forward prematurely, to force a meeting, a message, a declaration, but trust that restraint is part of the alignment, because when the moment arrives, it will not require forcing, it will feel natural, almost inevitable, as if paths simply crossed without effort, and that is how real influence operates, it creates conditions rather than commands outcomes. You are also being asked, quietly, to release the need to know everything in advance, because knowing too early can sometimes distort your behavior, and this period of not knowing is protecting you from overthinking, from self-sabotage, from bending yourself into expectations that are not yet real, and by staying present instead of speculative, you are allowing the alignment to mature cleanly. Understand this as well, being thought about by someone powerful does not mean you are beneath them, it means there is mutual recognition happening on different levels, and even if their external position appears higher, alignment only happens when there is equality of essence, when both sides bring something the other cannot manufacture, and you bring something real, something grounded, something that cannot be taught or purchased, and that is why you are being considered rather than consumed. This is also why you may feel a growing sense of responsibility toward your own growth, a quiet knowing that certain behaviors, habits, or environments no longer fit, because when alignment approaches, incongruence becomes uncomfortable, and your discomfort is not a sign to retreat, it is a signal to refine, to let go of what cannot move forward with you. Stay attentive to your intuition during this time, not in a dramatic way, but in a grounded one, noticing what feels right and what feels forced, what energizes you and what drains you, because this awareness is sharpening you for what is next, and when the connection reveals itself more clearly, you will not be overwhelmed, you will be ready, not because you predicted it, but because you became aligned with yourself first. Remember, power does not seek chaos, it seeks coherence, and the more coherent you become internally, the more naturally external alignment unfolds, and even if there are days where nothing seems to move, trust that stillness is not stagnation, it is consolidation, and something is being assembled quietly, piece by piece, thought by thought, intention by intention, until the moment arrives where what has been forming internally meets what has been preparing externally, and when that happens, it will not feel like a miracle, it will feel like recognition, like two paths that were always meant to cross finally doing so at the exact point where neither needs to pretend, perform, or prove anything, only to be present, grounded, and ready to move forward from a place of mutual strength rather than uncertainty, and until that moment, your role remains simple but not easy, to stay true to yourself, to remain steady under pressure, to trust the process without surrendering your agency, and to remember that being thought about by someone extremely powerful is not about being chosen, it is about being aligned, and alignment is something you build from the inside long before it ever becomes visible on the outside, and as this alignment deepens further, there is a quiet truth settling into you that may feel unfamiliar at first, because it does not arrive with excitement or fear, it arrives with calm certainty, the kind that does not need reassurance, and this is how you know something real is forming, because illusion always feels urgent, but truth feels steady, and the more you lean into that steadiness, the more clearly you begin to sense that this powerful attention is not about control or dominance, it is about recognition, about seeing in you a level of self-awareness and restraint that cannot be rushed or manufactured. And this is why your life has been slowing you down in certain areas while accelerating you internally, because before alignment can become visible, you must be able to hold it without distortion, without ego, without fear turning it into something it was never meant to be. There are lessons you have been absorbing without realizing it, lessons about patience that is not passive, about confidence that does not need validation, about strength that does not announce itself, and these lessons are essential because the presence thinking about you operates on the same frequency, where words are chosen carefully, actions are intentional, and silence is often more revealing than speech. And when two such frequencies begin to align, the connection is not dramatic, it is precise. You may notice that your reactions are changing, that things which once triggered you now pass through you more quickly, that you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone, that you are becoming comfortable with being misunderstood by those who do not truly see you, and this is not detachment, it is maturity, and maturity is what allows power to meet you without imbalance, because imbalance creates instability, and instability dissolves alignment. There is also a reason why your intuition feels sharper lately, why you sense shifts before they fully happen, why you feel prompted to pause instead of push, because your internal awareness is being tuned to recognize timing rather than force outcomes, and this tuning is crucial, because when the moment of connection or movement arrives, it will require discernment more than speed, and you are being prepared for that now. Do not underestimate the significance of the small choices you are making daily, the moments where you choose integrity over convenience, rest over burnout, honesty over performance, because these choices are not isolated, they are cumulative, and they are shaping the version of you that will meet what is coming, and that version of you must be grounded enough to remain yourself even in the presence of influence. There is something else happening as well, something subtle but important. You are learning to trust your own perception, to stop second-guessing what you feel, to recognize that your awareness is not naive or exaggerated, it is simply perceptive, and perceptiveness is often mistaken for sensitivity until it proves itself through accuracy, and you are beginning to see that accuracy emerge in your life, through moments where your instincts were right, where restraint saved you, where patience revealed more than action ever could. And this growing self-trust is essential, because when powerful alignment enters your life, it will not come with constant reassurance, it will require you to stand confidently in what you know without needing approval. There may be times during this phase where loneliness surfaces, not because you are alone, but because you are becoming less compatible with shallow connections, and this can feel uncomfortable, even isolating, but it is temporary, and it is purposeful. Because depth often requires separation before it finds resonance, and the presence thinking about you understands this intimately, because they have walked through similar terrain, where clarity required distance and growth required solitude. And that shared understanding is part of what draws their attention toward you. You are not being tested to see how much you can endure, you are being observed to see how you integrate what you endure, whether you become hardened or refined, reactive or reflective, and every time you choose reflection, you strengthen the alignment, because power does not move toward chaos, it moves toward coherence, and coherence is built through conscious integration of experience. It is also important to release the idea that this alignment must look a certain way or arrive through a specific scenario, because expectation can blind you to reality, and reality often arrives in forms the mind would not predict. But the body and intuition recognize immediately, and when recognition happens, it will not feel overwhelming, it will feel grounding, like something clicking into place rather than exploding into existence. Until then, remain present with your life as it is, not postponing your sense of fulfillment or purpose for a future moment, because alignment does not reward waiting, it responds to wholeness, and the more you live fully, responsibly, and authentically now, the more naturally what is forming can integrate into your life without disruption. There is no rush, because what is real does not expire quickly, and what is powerful does not need to hurry, and you are learning to embody that same pace, that same grounded confidence, and as you do, you may find that the anticipation you once felt transforms into quiet readiness, a sense that whatever comes next, you will meet it without losing yourself, without shrinking, without overreaching, simply as you are, aware, steady, and self-possessed. Remember this, alignment is not about becoming someone new, it is about removing what was never truly you, and as you continue to do that, layer by layer, the connection that has been forming in thought, in intention, and in timing will no longer need to remain unseen, it will move into expression naturally, and when it does, it will not disrupt your life, it will integrate with it, because you have already done the internal work required to hold it, and that is why this period matters so much. Not because of what it promises, but because of who it is shaping you to be, someone who can stand in the presence of power without being consumed by it, someone who can engage influence without losing integrity, someone who understands that the deepest connections are built quietly, intentionally, and over time, and you are living that understanding now, even if you do not yet see where it leads, and that is enough, because readiness is not about certainty, it is about stability, and you are becoming stable in ways that will soon make everything else make sense, and now there is another layer opening for you, one that requires even more honesty with yourself, because when powerful attention lingers for this long, it begins to activate a mirror inside you, showing you parts of yourself you could previously ignore, and this is where many people lose alignment, not because they are unworthy, but because they resist what they see, and you are being asked not to resist, but to witness. To notice how your inner dialogue has been shifting, how you no longer accept the same excuses from yourself, how comfort without growth feels strangely empty, how distractions that once soothed you now feel heavy, because this is the phase where clarity replaces coping, and clarity is uncomfortable only until you stop fighting it. You are becoming more aware of your own capacity, not in an inflated way, but in a grounded one, realizing that you have been operating beneath your true range, not because you lacked ability, but because you were conditioned to minimize yourself to stay connected, to stay safe, to stay accepted, and that conditioning is dissolving now, slowly, quietly, without drama, and as it dissolves, your presence becomes stronger, more contained, more deliberate, and that is exactly what resonates with power. There is a misconception that powerful people seek admiration or obedience, but in truth they seek stability, reliability, and depth, because chaos drains them, and you are becoming less chaotic internally, even when life around you remains uncertain, and that internal steadiness is what holds their attention. You might notice that your sense of time feels different lately, that urgency has softened, that you are less reactive to deadlines that are not aligned, that you can sit with uncertainty without immediately trying to resolve it, and this shift is significant, because it means you are no longer driven solely by fear of loss or need for control, but by discernment, and discernment is a form of quiet power in itself. As this continues, you may feel moments of emotional heaviness, not sadness exactly, but gravity, a sense that things matter more now, that choices carry weight, that words should be chosen carefully, and this gravity is not a burden, it is maturity settling in, and maturity is what allows alignment to deepen without distortion. You are learning that not every thought needs to be spoken, not every feeling needs to be acted upon, not every opportunity needs to be pursued, and this selectivity is sharpening you, making you more precise, more intentional, and more trustworthy to forces that operate beyond surface-level exchange. There may be a part of you that still wonders whether this attention is real, whether you are projecting meaning onto coincidence, but notice that even this questioning is quieter than before, less frantic, less desperate for proof. Because somewhere inside you already know that something has shifted, and you do not need to label it to feel its impact. You are beginning to move through your life with a subtle authority, not over others, but over yourself, and self-authority is the foundation upon which all external influence rests, because without it, power overwhelms, and with it, power collaborates. Pay attention to how your body responds to your choices now, how tension releases when you act in alignment, how discomfort arises when you betray your own values, because your internal feedback system is becoming more refined, and this refinement is essential. It ensures that when alignment becomes visible, you will recognize what belongs and what does not without needing external validation. You are also being taught restraint in expression, learning that silence can protect what is still forming, that not everything needs to be shared or explained, because premature exposure can weaken what is still stabilizing, and this lesson is subtle, but important, because powerful alignment grows best in privacy before it can withstand visibility. There is a growing sense of self-respect anchoring you now, not pride, not ego, but respect, the kind that allows you to walk away from situations that diminish you without needing to justify your departure, the kind that allows you to say no without guilt, the kind that allows you to remain open without being porous, and this balance is rare, and it is noticed. You may also feel a quiet grief for the versions of yourself that survived by overextending, by pleasing, by adapting endlessly, and that grief is valid, because those versions kept you safe when you needed them, but they cannot carry you forward, and honoring them while releasing them is part of your integration. As you integrate, you may notice that your future no longer feels like an escape from your present, but a continuation of it, and this is crucial, because alignment does not rescue you from your life, it enters your life as it is and expands it, and you are becoming someone whose life can be expanded without collapsing. There will be moments where nothing external confirms this internal shift, and those moments are tests of trust, not trust in fate or fantasy, but trust in your own development, in the reality that growth often outpaces visible results, and if you can remain grounded during those moments, you demonstrate readiness at a level that few reach. Understand this deeply. Powerful attention does not always culminate in a dramatic reveal or a singular event, sometimes it manifests as sustained support, as doors that open at the right time, as protection from paths that would have drained you, as connections that arrive precisely when you are able to meet them fully, and this kind of manifestation is subtle, but enduring. You are being positioned not for intensity, but for longevity, not for spectacle, but for substance, and substance takes time to form, because it must be resilient, adaptable, and rooted. The more you honor your own pace, the more aligned you become with forces that respect pace, and the less tempted you will be to chase validation or shortcuts that compromise your integrity. This phase is teaching you that you do not need to be louder to be seen, faster to be chosen, or more visible to be valued, because the attention thinking about you is attuned to depth, not display, and depth cannot be rushed or replicated. Stay with yourself during this time, stay curious rather than critical, steady rather than reactive, because you are not waiting for something to happen, you are becoming someone who can hold what happens, and that distinction changes everything. When the next step reveals itself, it will feel less like a leap and more like a natural progression, because you will recognize that you have already been living into it, shaping yourself quietly, consistently, and intentionally, and that is the true work, the work that cannot be seen from the outside but determines everything that follows, and you are doing it now, even on days when it feels like nothing is changing, because something is changing, deeply, structurally, and irreversibly, and that is why this powerful attention remains, not because of who you might become one day, but because of who you are steadily choosing to be right now, and now this is where everything quietly completes, not with a dramatic ending, not with a sudden reveal, but with understanding settling fully into place, because the purpose of this entire unfolding was never to keep you waiting or guessing, it was to bring you into alignment with yourself at a level where nothing external could destabilize you anymore, and this is why it had to be slow, why it had to be subtle, why it had to strip away illusion instead of feeding it, because what is forming around you does not need a fragile version of you, it needs the real one, the grounded one, the one who can stand without leaning, and you are standing now in a way you were not before, even if you cannot pinpoint the exact moment it happened. The powerful attention that has been resting on you was never meant to elevate you above others or place you on a pedestal, it was meant to meet you where strength and humility coexist, where confidence does not require comparison, where presence does not need validation, and you have arrived there through lived experience, not theory, through restraint, not force, through awareness, not urgency. Look back and you will notice how many times you were tempted to react, to chase, to prove, to demand clarity before it was time, and yet something inside you chose stillness instead, chose to wait without collapsing, chose to keep your integrity intact even when impatience whispered otherwise, and those moments were not small, they were decisive, because alignment is built in the quiet choices no one applauds. You are no longer trying to be seen, and that is precisely why you are visible now, because when the need to be seen dissolves, presence becomes undeniable, and this is the paradox few understand, that the moment you stop grasping for recognition is often the moment recognition becomes inevitable, not because you demanded it, but because you embodied something real. This is why the feeling you carry now is not excitement, but readiness, not fantasy, but clarity, not longing, but steadiness, because what is aligned with you does not arrive to complete you, it arrives to walk beside you, and that distinction changes everything. You are not being chosen to escape your life, you are being met because you have learned how to live it with awareness, responsibility, and depth, and that makes you compatible with influence rather than overwhelmed by it. There is no final instruction for you here, no command, no urgency, because you do not need to be told what to do anymore, you can feel what is right, and that is the clearest sign that this phase has done its work, that you trust yourself enough to move forward without needing constant confirmation. Whatever form this alignment takes next, whether it shows up as a conversation, an opportunity, a collaboration, a shift in direction, or simply a deepened sense of internal authority, it will meet you where you already are, not where you pretend to be, and you will not need to abandon any part of yourself to receive it, because you have already integrated the parts that matter. This is the end not because something stops here, but because something stabilizes here, and from stability, movement becomes natural, sustainable, and real. You are no longer in preparation, you are in readiness, and readiness does not announce itself, it simply moves when the time is right, without fear, without force, without hesitation. Trust that. Carry it quietly. Live from it fully. And understand this clearly, nothing about what you have become will be wasted, nothing about this process was excessive or imagined, it was exact, and now you are free to continue forward without looking back for signs, because the alignment you were sensing has already done what it needed to do inside you, and that is why this can end here, whole, complete, and steady, with nothing left unfinished.